A friend of mine got a raise last spring. $11,000 a year, the biggest single jump of his working life. He called me the night he found out, and he was genuinely happy. I asked him about it in December. He said, and I am quoting him, "I honestly cannot tell you where it went. He is not careless, he is not in debt. He simply cannot point at anything in his life that is different, and the money is not in his savings account either." Somewhere between March and December, an $11,000 raise turned into no change at all. That is what I want to take apart today, because it happens to almost everybody, and the usual explanation is wrong. The usual explanation is that people are undisciplined. That is not what is going on. What is going on is a mechanism. It works on smart people and careful people, and once you can see it, you can put one small thing in its way. I am Sam, and this is Wealth Mindset. Here is the mechanism. When your income goes up, your reference point moves up with it, and it moves quietly. Nobody decides to raise their standard of living. What happens is that 100 small decisions each get made one notch differently. The grocery order stops being calculated. You take the flight instead of the drive. The car repair goes to the dealer instead of the guy on the corner. Every one of those is defensible. Every one of them is small. And none of them feels like spending your raise, because a raise is one big thing and these are 40 little things. By December, the 40 little things add up to $11,000, and my friend is standing in his kitchen unable to name a single one of them. Researchers describe this as your baseline resetting. Whatever felt like a treat 6 months ago now feels ordinary, and the thing that feels like a treat today is one step above it. The pleasure of the upgrade is real, and it is also temporary, and the new level becomes the floor you would now be upset to fall below. That last part is the trap. The upgrade gives you a few weeks of pleasure and a permanent new expectation. It is a bad trade, and you make it without ever noticing that a trade happened. Let me name the 40 things because vague is useless. When I went looking in my own life, the invisible upgrades were these. Groceries stopped being a list and became a browse. Delivery went from a rescue to a default. Convenience food showed up on ordinary Tuesdays instead of hard days. The subscription I meant to cancel got renewed twice. Every repair went to the fastest option rather than the cheapest one, and the difference was never large enough to argue with. Parking instead of walking 4 blocks. The better seat on the plane once, and then every time. Not one of those is a mistake. Any single one of them is a fine way to spend money. Together they are an entire raise, and none of them is anything you would list if somebody asked what you spend on. Here is the tell. If you cannot name what a raise bought you, the raise did not buy you anything. It just raised the price of your ordinary week. And there is a second layer to it, which is that some of those upgrades stop being optional. You get used to the delivery, then the week gets hard, and now you need it. That is what people mean when they say lifestyle creep is a ratchet. It turns easily one way, and it takes real effort to turn back. Now let me get to the research, because this is where most videos on this subject get sloppy, and I want to give you the honest version. You have probably heard that money stops making people happier above $75,000 a year. That number came from a real study. In 2010, Kahneman and Angus Deaton looked at day-to-day emotional well-being and found it stopped improving somewhere around that figure. Then, in 2021, a researcher named Matthew Killingsworth ran the question differently. Instead of asking people to remember how they felt, he pinged them through a smartphone app and asked how they felt right then, in the moment. He found no plateau at all. Happiness kept rising with income above $75,000. 2 respected researchers, opposite answers. And here's the part I love. Instead of arguing in public for a decade, they did something called an adversarial collaboration. Kahneman and Killingsworth, together with Barbara Mellers, sat down with both sets of data and worked out who was right. They published the result in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in March of 2023, and they titled it A Conflict Resolved. What they found is more useful than either original answer. Both were right about different people. For most people, emotional well-being keeps rising with income, well past $100,000. There is no magic ceiling. But for the least happy group, the curve does flatten. Past a certain point, more money stops helping them, because what is making them unhappy is not something money was ever going to fix. Sit with that, because it reframes the whole conversation. Money is very good at removing the problems that money causes. It is not good at removing the other kind. A person whose distress comes from a marriage, or grief, or chronic pain, or a job they cannot stand for reasons that have nothing to do with the paycheck, does not get relief from another raise. The money arrives, and the thing is still there. And the $75,000 figure, the one that got repeated for 13 years? The researchers themselves explained why that number showed up. The 2010 measure could not tell the difference between degrees of happiness at the upper end. It hit a ceiling. The finding was more accurate when stated as unhappiness decreasing rather than happiness increasing. So the famous number was a summary artifact, not a law of nature. I bring that up for a reason that goes beyond this one study. A finding gets simplified into a headline, the headline gets repeated until it feels like common knowledge, and then people make real decisions with it. Somebody out there turned down a promotion because they had read that 75,000 was the number where more stops mattering. That is a real cost paid for a bad summary. So where does that leave you and your raise? It leaves you with one useful sentence. More money genuinely can improve your life, and it will not do it by itself. The improvement comes from what you decide before the money arrives, not from the money. Let me give you the small thing that works. When income goes up, decide in advance where the increase goes and decide it in specific dollars before the first larger paycheck lands. Not a percentage and not a vague intention to save more. A number with a destination attached set up to move automatically. Half to the thing that improves your life in a way you can still feel next year, half to whatever gives you room to breathe. Automatic, because the whole problem is that the money is otherwise distributed by 40 tiny decisions you will not remember making. Here is the arithmetic on my friend's raise, and I mean it as an illustration, not a prescription. Your numbers are your own. $11,000 a year is about $900 a month before tax. Call it $650 after. If $650 a month had been moved automatically the week the raise started, that is $7,800 a year sitting somewhere he can actually see. And his day-to-day life would be exactly the same as the year before, which he was fine with, because he did not notice the difference anyway. That is the whole argument in one paragraph. He did not enjoy the raise, he absorbed it. Absorbed money buys nothing and shows up nowhere. Now, I do not want this to become a lecture about denying yourself things, because that is not what I believe, and it is not what the research supports either. So let me give you the other half. Spending the raise on purpose is fine. Spending it on purpose is the point. The rule is only that it should be a choice you can name. If you upgrade one thing deliberately, say you decide the raise buys a better mattress and 2 trips to see your grandchildren, you get something durable. You will feel the mattress every night for 8 years. You will remember the trips. That is, money converted into life, and you made the conversion knowingly. The failure is not spending, the failure is diffusion. Money that goes into 40 invisible upgrades gives you no memory, no asset, and a higher floor you now have to keep paying for. Here are 3 questions I use whenever income changes. They take about 5 minutes. The first question is, what did I want more of last year that I could not do? Answer that before you look at the number, because that answer is honest. Once you know the amount, your brain starts inventing wants that fit it. The second question is, what will I still be glad I bought in 3 years? Almost nothing on a normal spending list survives that question. The few things that do are worth putting first. The third question is, what is the level I am willing to go back to? Because incomes fall as well as rise. Retirement is a fall. Illness is a fall. If your entire raise went into a lifestyle you would grieve losing, you have built a floor you may not be able to keep. If it went into a mattress, a trip, and money in the bank, none of that gets repossessed. One more thing, and it matters more the closer you get to retiring. Everything I have described runs in reverse when income falls, and it does not run as smoothly. A raise gets absorbed quietly, but a cut has to be negotiated item by item, and every item feels like a loss because the level you were at had become the floor. That is why the people who handle a drop in income best are not always the ones with the most saved. They are the ones whose ordinary week was never inflated in the first place, so there is nothing to unwind. Their floor is low, and they built it on purpose, which means a smaller number can hold it up. If you are 5 or 10 years from retiring, this is the most useful thing on the list. Every dollar you do not absorb into the ordinary week is a dollar your future income does not have to replace. It works twice, it saves the money now, and it lowers the number you will need later. Let me close with the part of the 2023 study that I keep thinking about. For the least happy group, more money did not help. That is not a sad finding, that is a direction sign. It says that if you are unhappy in a way that money is not the cause of, then the raise, the promotion, the bigger house, none of them are going to arrive and take it away. And the years spent waiting for the next income jump to fix it are years spent not fixing it. Which means the most valuable thing you can do with the question is separate it into 2 piles. The problems money genuinely solves, which are real and worth working at, and the ones that need something else, which no amount of income has ever solved for anybody. Most of us keep putting things in the first pile that belong in the second. So here's what I would do this week. If your income went up in the last year, sit down for 5 minutes and find out where it went, not to feel bad about it, just to know. Look at one thing that is now normal in your life, that was a treat 2 years ago, and ask yourself whether you would have traded $11,000 for it if somebody had offered that deal out loud. And if your income goes up next year, write the number down before it arrives, with a destination beside it, and set it to move by itself. Tell me in the comments what your version of the invisible upgrade is. Mine is groceries. I stopped looking at prices 2 years ago, and I could not tell you what it cost me, and I am fairly sure it is more than I would guess. I am Sam. Thanks for spending this time with me, and I will see you in the next one.